Okay, so I never thought I'd be the guy writing this kind of thing on any kind of forum, but here we are. My name's Mark, and I'm pretty much just a regular guy, or at least I was. I met Emily about 5 years ago. She's gorgeous, confident, and usually pretty sharp. We married young, thought we'd grow old together and have a good life. Things weren't perfect, sure, but I believed in us. Until recently, I'd say everything was fine, but I started noticing strange little signs that something was off. First, her phone. She's always been pretty private about it, but lately, she'd hide it when I walked into the room. When she was on it, she'd get tense, and sometimes she'd make up some excuse about work emails or some late-night calls she had to take. I never made a big deal of it at first. I mean, everyone has secrets, right? But then I caught her texting a lot more than usual, and I swear she was very deliberately hiding her screen when I was near. Then, there were the nights she'd suddenly have to work late or go out with friends for drinks. She'd come home, looking a little too energized, a little more confident. I started to notice her changing her routines. She'd wake up earlier and leave the house before I was even awake, claiming she'd hit the gym or had some urgent project at her office. Honestly, I figured she was just trying to get some me time, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something. Deep down, I knew something was wrong. It wasn't just my paranoia. I saw her texting on her phone more and more, and I would sometimes walk in on her hurriedly deleting messages or closing her apps. It felt like a game she was playing, and I was just the guy left trying to figure out what was going on. I kept telling myself I was being insecure, but it didn't feel right. I felt like I was losing her, and that's a terrible, sinking feeling when you love someone and you're sure they're hiding something from you. One day, I decided to do a little digging. I know, that's not exactly the mature move, but I couldn't stand the idea of being kept in the dark anymore. I started checking her phone. When she was in the shower and I found some texts, nothing explicit at first, just casual flirty stuff with someone named Jake. I looked further and saw a pattern. They'd have long, private conversations late at night, talking about how great they felt talking to each other and how much they enjoyed being with someone who understands. I felt my stomach tighten. That's when I realized this was not just innocent flirting. This was something real, something that had been going on for weeks. That was the moment I knew I had to confront her. I gathered all the evidence I could, took screenshots, and waited for the right moment. I wanted to hear her lie her way out of it, wanted to see if she'd even try. And sure enough, when I finally brought it up, Emily acted like I was crazy. She told me I was overreacting, that I was paranoid and insecure, that I didn't trust her. She claimed those messages were nothing, just harmless banter, and that I was reading too much into it. She said she was just stressed with work, that Jake was just a friend, and that I was being controlling. But the way she looked at me, her eyes darting, that fake smile, told me everything I needed to know. Deep down, I felt a mix of anger, heartbreak, and disgust. I didn't want to believe she could do this, not after everything we'd been through, but the proof was staring me right in the face. I was furious, not just because she was cheating, but because she lied about it, gaslighted me, made me doubt my own instincts. That betrayal cut deep, and I knew from that moment I had to figure out what to do next. After she denied everything, I felt like I was hit by a freight train. My mind was racing, trying to process what I just learned. Honestly, I was furious, but I was also hurt. Deep down, I kept asking myself how she could do this to us, to me. For a moment, I just sat there, staring at her, trying to find the words, trying to keep my voice from cracking. But inside, I was boiling. I knew I couldn't just let this go. She needed to understand that I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I decided I needed some space to think. I told her I was going for a walk, and I grabbed my phone as I stepped outside. That's when I started looking into how I could catch her in the act, just in case she tried to cover her tracks further. I wasn't planning anything crazy, but I knew I had to be sure. I found a few apps that could track her phone, and I set them up discreetly. I wasn't exactly proud of it, but I didn't see any other way to get the truth. Over the next few days, things got worse. She started acting even more defensive, more aggressive when I tried to bring up her whereabouts or her late-night texts. She would snap at me, say I was crazy or possessive, and tell me I needed to trust her. But trust felt like a joke now. I could see through her lies. Every time she said she was working late, I'd check her location and she'd be nowhere near her office. Instead, she was with Jake, no doubt. One evening, I decided to follow her. I waited until she left for her late shift and followed her car. What I saw made my blood boil. She was parked outside a hotel just a few blocks from our house. She went inside with Jake. I sat in my car watching her go in and come out maybe an hour later. She looked different, more relaxed, more alive. My stomach twisted. How could she do this? How could she lie so easily, look me in the eye, and keep pretending everything was normal? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything. The way she lied, the way she looked at me like I was some paranoid idiot. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly just broken. How do you come back from something like this? I knew I had to confront her again, but this time I needed to be ready. I couldn't just storm in and accuse her blindly. I had to have proof, I had to have a plan. So I decided to set a trap. I left my phone in my pocket with the GPS on so I could track her movements after she got home. I wanted her to think I was clueless, but I needed to see if she'd slip up again. The plan was simple. I'd wait for her to come back and I'd catch her red-handed if she was cheating. I was angry, more than angry, I was devastated. All the years we had, all the plans we made felt like they were crumbling into dust. As I sat there watching the clock, my mind kept racing. This had to end one way or another. I knew I couldn't just stay quiet and pretend I didn't see what I saw. I needed to do something definitive. Whether that was fighting for us or walking away, I had to make a decision soon. But the pain, that still cut deep. I kept asking myself how she could lie so brazenly, how she could betray me after everything. It was like my heart was breaking all over again, and I wasn't sure how I was going to come out of this intact. That night I stayed up, just staring at my phone, watching her location update in real time. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. She was still out, way past midnight. My mind was racing, trying to decide what to do next. I knew that if I confronted her immediately, she'd probably deny everything or spin some bullshit excuse, and I didn't want to go down that road again. No, I needed to catch her in the act if I was going to believe anything she said. Around 12:15 a.m., her location pinged near that hotel again. I felt my stomach tight. She was definitely lying about being at work. I waited, heart pounding in my chest, wondering what she was really doing. I figured I'd give her a little more time, see if she'd come home or if she'd keep playing her game. I stayed in the car, my mind a mess of emotions, anger, sadness, confusion. I kept thinking how much I'd trusted her, how I'd never suspected she was capable of this kind of lying, of betrayal. Suddenly, I saw her come out of the hotel. She looked different, more relaxed, more alive, like she just had her fill of whatever she was doing inside. She got into a car that wasn't mine. My fists clenched. That's when I knew I had definitive proof. She wasn't working late, she was with Jake. Again. And she was lying to my face every time she said she was at her office. I felt my stomach twist painfully. The betrayal was so raw, so real, I could barely breathe. I waited until she pulled away, then I followed her from a distance. She drove through the city, winding through back streets, and finally ended up at her sister's place. I parked a couple of blocks away, watching her go inside. My mind was spinning. What the hell was I going to do now? I hadn't planned this far ahead. All I knew was that I couldn't keep pretending nothing was wrong. The next day, I decided I needed to confront her face to face. No more hiding, no more sneaking around. I couldn't trust her anymore, not after everything I'd seen. I told her I needed to talk, that I was done pretending I didn't know. She tried to brush it off, saying I was overreacting, that I was paranoid, that I was crazy. But I cut her off. I told her I knew every lie, every secret, and that I wasn't going to live in some kind of delusion anymore. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, like she thought she could manipulate me, like I was some idiot who'd just forget everything and move on. She threw out a bunch of bullshit, saying it was all just innocent, that Jake was just a friend and that I was crazy to even think she'd cheat on me. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I saw her true face, cold, selfish, and totally unfaithful. I was overwhelmed. It hit me hard. This wasn't just some fling, this was real, and I'd been played for a fool. I felt humiliated, angry more than anything. How could she lie to me for so long? How could she look me in the eye and keep pretending she was innocent? I felt like I was drowning in betrayal. I told her to pack her shit, that I was done, that I didn't want to see her anymore. She yelled, called me crazy and insecure, but I didn't care. I knew the truth now, and that was all that mattered. That night I stayed awake, just staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. I felt empty, like I'd lost a part of myself. I didn't know what to do, how to move forward. I loved her, but I couldn't be with someone who'd lie and cheat and treat me like I was nothing. I realized I'd been giving her all my trust, and she'd thrown it right back in my face. The pain was excruciating, but I knew I had to start rebuilding somehow. This whole thing has taught me one thing: never ignore your gut. Trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's almost impossible to repair. I still don't know exactly what I'll do next, but I know I won't be letting her back in. And honestly, I wish I'd seen it sooner, before I'd invested so much of myself into a relationship that was just a lie. The days that followed were a blur. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, trying to process what had happened. Each morning, I'd wake up with this heavy weight in my chest, knowing that everything I thought was solid, our marriage, my trust in her, was shattered. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind, so naive. I kept replaying all those little signs, all those moments I brushed off, and it made me furious at myself. How did I not see it sooner? How did I not realize she was capable of lying so blatantly? I spent a lot of time alone, trying to sort through my feelings. Anger mainly. Anger at her, at myself, at the whole situation. It was hard to accept that I had been played, that I'd been so blind. I'd always thought I was a smart guy, good at reading people, but she had managed to keep her secrets well hidden. And the worst part, she had the nerve to act like she was the victim, like I was the crazy one for even questioning her. One night, I decided I needed to confront her again, just to get some closure. I messaged her, telling her I wanted to talk, just her and me, no hiding anymore. She responded with a snarky comment, trying to turn the tables, saying I was overreacting and that I was possessive. That just made me angrier. I told her I wasn't going to play her game anymore. I wanted the truth, plain and simple. She finally agreed to meet. When she stepped into my house, I saw that familiar smirk, the one she always used when she thought she was winning. I didn't hold back. I told her everything I knew: the texts, the hotel, the nights out, her lies. I told her how it felt to be betrayed like this, how every moment I spent loving her felt like a waste now. She tried to deny it, to claim I was making it all up, but I had enough evidence to blow her out of the water. I pulled out my phone, showed her the GPS logs, the photos I'd snapped, the messages. Her face went pale. She started stammering, trying to come up with some excuse, but I cut her off. I told her I was done. Done with her lying, done with feeling like I wasn't enough. I said she used me, played me, and I was sick of it. I told her she could go, that I never wanted to see her again. Her eyes glittered with that bitchy, condescending look she always had when she thought she was better than everyone else. She spat back some nasty words about how I was insecure and jealous, but I didn't care anymore. I was over her, over the bullshit. That night was the hardest of my life. Lying there in bed, knowing she was gone, I felt a strange mix of relief and despair. Relief that I finally knew the truth and could start healing, but despair because I lost the person I thought I'd spend my life with. I kept asking myself how I'd let it get this far, how I'd been so blind, but I also knew I had to move on. I couldn't keep living in this betrayal. Over the next few weeks, I made a decision. I wasn't going to chase her, beg her to stay, or try to fix what was broken. I realized I deserved better than someone who could lie and cheat so effortlessly. I started focusing on myself, trying to rebuild my confidence, my sense of worth. I got a new job, started hanging out with friends more, and just took time to breathe. It's not easy. I feel the sting of loneliness, the regret, the anger every single day. But I know I can't keep living in the past. I have to move forward. Looking back, what hurts the most isn't the betrayal itself, but how I allowed it to happen. I was so blind to her manipulation, so eager to believe in her perfect image. Now I see her for what she really is: someone selfish, unfaithful, and not worthy of the trust I once gave her. If I could give anyone advice from this mess, it's this: trust your instincts. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Because when you do, you might end up losing a lot more than you bargained for. It's been a few months now since I kicked her out, and honestly, I'm still trying to put the pieces together. Some days I feel like I'm doing okay, getting through the day, staying busy, keeping my mind off her. Other days, the pain hits me all over again, like a punch to the gut. I keep thinking about all the time I wasted, all the love I gave her that she threw away so easily. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but I know deep down I'm better off without her. Still, the scars linger, and I wonder if I'll ever fully trust anyone again. One thing I've realized is how much I underestimated the kind of person she was. She portrayed herself as this strong, independent woman, but behind closed doors, she was cold, manipulative, and totally unfaithful. I guess I was just too blind to see it. It's humbling in a way and honestly kind of embarrassing. I always thought I was pretty good at reading people, but she managed to fool me for years. I guess that's the lesson. Don't assume you know everything about someone, no matter how much you love them. I've also learned a lot about myself during this process. I used to think I was pretty resilient, but losing her made me realize I still had a lot of healing to do. I found myself questioning everything, doubting my judgment, feeling like I was somehow at fault. But I've started to see things differently. I'm realizing that her betrayal wasn't my fault. I was honest, caring, and loyal, everything she claimed she valued. The problem was her, not me. That's a hard pill to swallow, but it's also a relief. I don't have to carry this guilt anymore. Now I'm trying to rebuild my confidence. I've started working out regularly, which has helped a lot. I've also been talking to a counselor, which I think has been a game changer. It's not easy admitting you're hurt, but it's necessary. I've begun to forgive myself for trusting her so much. I know I can't change what happened, but I can learn from it. I can grow stronger, wiser, more cautious about who I let into my life. Some days I still get angry, angrier than I expected. I think about how she lied and cheated and how she thought she could get away with it. I wonder how someone can be so selfish, so callous. But then I remind myself that I don't need her approval or her lies. I'm better off without that kind of toxicity. I want someone who truly values me, who respects me enough not to betray my trust. And honestly, I believe I'll find that someday. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but eventually. What I want to say to anyone reading this who's going through something similar is, don't settle. Don't ignore the signs. Trust your gut. If someone is constantly hiding things or lying to you, they're probably hiding something worse. And don't be afraid to walk away, even if it hurts at first. Because staying in a toxic situation is only going to make the pain worse in the long run. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. Never forget that. This experience has broken me in some ways, but it's also made me stronger. I'm learning to love myself more, to value my own happiness over someone else's lies. It's a long road, but I know I'll get there. And who knows? Maybe someday I'll find someone who truly appreciates me for who I am, who won't cheat or lie or play psychological games. Until then, I'll keep moving forward, one step at a time. Looking back, I realize that what this whole mess has really taught me is how fragile trust is, and how easily it can be shattered by someone you thought was your partner for life. I've learned that betrayal doesn't just hurt, it changes you, sometimes in ways you never expected. I used to believe in the idea of soulmates and the vows of forever, but now I see that those promises only mean something if both people are willing to uphold them. And she broke that. The hardest part has been forgiving myself. Forgiving myself for not seeing the signs sooner, for loving someone who didn't deserve my love, for trusting her even when my gut told me to be cautious. But I've come to understand that I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. Sometimes, people hide their true selves so well that it takes a lot of pain to finally see the truth. The key now is to take that pain and turn it into strength. I've started focusing on rediscovering who I am outside of her. I've reconnected with old friends, picked up hobbies I'd put aside, and I'm slowly rebuilding my confidence. Every day still has its challenges. There are moments I feel lonely, moments I get angry, and moments I question if I'll ever fully heal. But I remind myself that it's okay to feel this way. Healing isn't linear, and it's okay to take your time. One thing I've realized is that I don't want to be with someone who lies and cheats, someone who can so easily dismiss the vows of loyalty. I want honesty, respect, and someone who truly values me. That's not too much to ask. I hope others in similar situations find the strength to walk away and never settle for less. because nobody deserves to be lied to, cheated on, or made to feel less than they are. This experience has left scars, sure, but it's also made me more resilient. I know now that I'm capable of surviving heartbreak and coming out stronger. I've learned to stand up for myself, to trust my instincts, and to value my worth. If there's one thing I want people to take from this, it's that betrayal doesn't define you. You get to choose what comes next. You get to decide to heal, to grow, and to find happiness again. No matter how deep the pain, the future is still yours, waiting to be shaped by your strength and resolve.